property that add value to your business. For example, computer equipment that you purchase for the business, corporate investments, and all of your checking or savings accounts are assets in the company. So at the beginning, the top here, you're going to have all of your asset accounts. And then you're going to scroll down and you're going to have all of your liability accounts. All of your liability accounts, they represent the accounts that record the expenses that you've incurred but have not yet paid. So examples of these accounts would be the GST HST payable that you owe to potentially CRA on the GST HST you've collected on your income, or your corporate taxes payable, as well as potentially accounts payable. The next type of account that you're going to have are your equity accounts down here. And your equity accounts are is the difference between your assets and your liabilities in the account. It really represents how much your business is worth. A few examples of the equity accounts are right here is the issued capital. When you started your incorporation, you would have issued potentially shares. So that amount is going to be recorded right here, as well as your retained earnings account as well. And then you're going to come down to your income accounts, and you're going to have income accounts. Typically, our clients have an account called contract revenue that records all of their revenue. The other types of accounts you could have here would be interest income, income you earn on savings accounts or investment accounts, as well as other types of income that don't fit into one of these brackets. The last account type that you're going to have is your expense accounts. I think they go down onto this next page. And the expense accounts are all the business expenses that you incur during your operations. For example, advertising, accounting fees, business promotion, bank charges, office supplies, subcontracting, etc. And those are going to be down here. And that's how these chart of accounts are broken up. I do highly recommend adding our chart of accounts because it coincides with a lot of the materials that we would provide you as a client. If you're not sure where to go to get that, we have a folder and share file called Free Resources. Go to Bookkeeping Tools and Guides. You can go right here, QBO Training, and you can download. And then over here in the chart of accounts, there's this little drop down, and you go import, and you'll import it, and you'll have all of our categories. So that covers the chart of accounts. And the next thing that you'll want to do is go to your banking. And right here in the banking tab of QuickBooks Online, it's really the heart of QuickBooks. It's where you gain the most efficiency in entering your different types of account transactions. So when you first go to this banking page, it will walk you through connecting your accounts. You should connect all of your corporate checking, savings, and credit card accounts right here, as well as potentially any personal accounts that have business expenses incurred on them. If you've already linked account and you want to come link a new account, you would go right here to link account, and it's going to walk you through connecting your bank account. Once your bank account is connected, it's going to bring in what's basically an Excel type sheet of your transactions that have occurred in your bank account. These transactions right here, it's important to note, these are not yet in QuickBooks. These are basically in a sheet for you to review, categorize, and then add to QuickBooks. So if I were to go look over here in my expenses, these are from a previous demo. There's a few expenses in here, but if they're not added from right here in the banking, they're not over here in the expenses. If they're not in the expenses, they're not actually accounted for yet. The same as if you were to go look at all your income. This was one that I already had in there, but you get the idea. So the banking transactions are all sitting right here for you to review. So the first thing that you may want to do when you start out with QuickBooks Online is invoice your customers. You'll see these income deposits sitting in here, and I'll go through invoicing here quickly because I think it's really, really important. It's a way that you can get paid. And so over here in QuickBooks, you have this button right here called New. It's kind of a quick create where you can create the different kinds of transaction types. So right here, you can create an invoice. You can receive payment for that invoice. You could create estimates. The credit memos, that would be if you needed, you'd issue an invoice and then you needed to issue a credit memo back to that invoice because for whatever reason you were going to give a discount or a refund. Most of these are not applicable to the types of clients that we help. So we're just going to go right here. You would go to invoice. You'd select a customer. If you don't already have a customer loaded in here, you would add new. I already have one, so you would do this right here. I'm going to show you an example. You can customize this to show the service date and different items right here, different fields right here. You would enter your products and services. You can add new products and services as on everything you do in QuickBooks. You can add as you're building this out. So I'm going to put it in here. September 2019 fees. And I'm just going to do 5650 inclusive of tax. I'll talk about that in a second. 5650. So this would be creating an invoice. You can put in their email, and you can actually email your invoices directly to your customers through QuickBooks Online. The advantage to sending your invoices to your customers through this platform is you will get a full audit log of when they've received it, when they viewed it, if you've changed it. You'll be able to see that immediately, and nobody will be able to say they did not receive your invoice. And as you're entering it, you'll see that I switched this from inclusive to exclusive. So this would just be saying this fee, either has the HST inside of the 5650 or the HST is calculated on top of the 5650. And that's just a personal preference on how you invoice right there. You know, always put messages, and you can add attachments. And then if I had an email address in here, I could hit save and send. In this case, I just want to save it and I want to close it. So it's important to note within QuickBooks Online and within the software, you're going to often see this little drop down menu right here. It always has like a secondary menu. Sometimes it's a little bit hidden, but you can always click on it and see what the options are. So I'm going to hit save and close. So now I've just invoiced my first customer. If I wanted to, let's see, if I wanted to receive payment then again for that invoice, I could come over here. I could choose the customer. I could say, okay, I've received payment for this invoice. I would deposit the money was received into my RBC checking, and then I would hit save and close. Now, the other option that you can have right here is sometimes your client, you may invoice multiple invoices, and you're going to receive payment for multiple invoices. And so you would just check off the amount of payment that you received for all of the invoices that they paid in that one. In this scenario, I only received this money. I'm going to hit save and close. And then what I'm going to do in my bank feed, so this is kind of old demo data that I have loaded in here. I should probably update it with more 2021 transactions. But what I'm going to do right here in this bank feed is, there's a couple options. You can either, in this bank feed, you can either match your transactions to transactions you've already entered into QuickBooks through right here with either an invoice, a bill, or an expense. You can match your transactions right here, or you can enter them directly from this screen as well. In this case, I don't want to enter this transaction again from this screen. So I could potentially type in the category, type in the tax, put my supplier, customer, and add. Now, if I did that, that would actually duplicate my income in the software. And so what I want to do instead, because I know that I already entered my invoice over here, is I want to go to find match, and I want to actually match this transaction to a transaction that I already have in QuickBooks Online. So in this case, I'm going to say it matches to this received payment right here, save, and I'm going to match it. Now, if I had not entered the invoice right here, I may decide, I don't need to do invoicing within QuickBooks Online. I invoice in a third-party system. I'm simply using QuickBooks Online to track my income and my expenses for my corporation. You could potentially come over here, say this is HST, and then you can create rules. And rules, I highly recommend utilizing as much as possible. It really is where you get the efficiency in QuickBooks Online. It also helps for more accurate categorization because once you've added a rule, the transaction is going to be entered the same way every single time. So you enter the rule, it kind of brings up a lot of the default, but you can override it right here. You can choose to automatically add. If you auto add, you'll never see that transaction. You'll never have to deal with it again. It will just automatically flow into your books. In this case, I'm just going to hit save. And so then I can just add my transactions right here from the bank feed. So that would be how you deal with income in here. Now for expenses, I'm going to show you how to code these expenses or categorize these expenses directly from the bank feed. So for example, you have an Enbridge expense come in that would potentially be rent, hydro, and I would say the tax. If I was tracking ITCs, we'll talk about that in a minute. The tax is HST on, and then I could add it right here. The better option is to create a rule. I highly recommend never having to deal with these transactions more than once. If you add a rule, then it'll be applied from then on now, and then you would just come in here, review, and hit add. Otherwise, every single one of these transactions, you're going to have to classify. It's best practice. This supplier customer field is not required. It is definitely best practice to fill this out. It is more accurate, provides more accurate reporting. So then you would add it. The other types of transactions that you may find inside of your bank feeds are right here, or let's see here. Are transfer transactions. And these transfer transactions are actually transferring money to another account that you have connected here in QuickBooks Online. For example, you have your credit card connected. The credit card received a payment from the checking account right here. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna this is not income to you, this is a payment to the credit card. So even though it's coming in the received column right here, it's not income. You would wanna record it as a transfer from the RBC checking account because that's the account it would come as. So instead of categorizing it, you would record it as a transfer, you would hit add, and it would record it as a transfer, and then you'd come over here onto RBC checking. Sorry, totally lost where that was. Okay, you can sort all of these columns, you can sort by. So I think it was this one. Let's see if we can find a match. This should automatically come with matches. It's not matching because the date range is so old. So in this case, I'm not sure where it's at. So I'm just gonna go look in the search box. The search box will actually bring up the last transaction that I classified. So it was actually this 541.87 transaction right here. So I should be able to find a match, and yeah, and there it came up with the match. Save. Because again, if I didn't match it and I entered it directly from here, it would duplicate that transaction. So that's really working with the bank feed. The other thing that you can do in here, you can multi-select. Say you have a ton of these bank charges, you can multi-select, update, change the information right here, and bulk add. I don't find the necessary to bulk add if I'm diligent in creating rules. There's not really a whole lot of reason for that. The other options that you have over here in the bank feed, there's this little menu right here. You can actually turn on grouping, and what grouping does is you can group by money out. You can group by date, so you can see all of your July or August transactions that need to be reviewed. You can group by description right here. So it's kind of a fun feature that's a little bit newer. Some of the other options right here are copy bank detail to memo, and that basically is saying that this bank detail that came through from the online banking is being copied to this memo field. Sometimes if you click on a transaction and this memo field is blank, it is because this is unchecked right here. So you just want to make sure and check that. Sometimes if the show bank details is not checked, it's very basic. There's not a whole lot of information for you to go off to classify your transactions. You can come over here and just make sure that you click on show bank details. So I think that covers really how to work with these bank feeds in QuickBooks. The next thing that I want to quickly kind of show you is kind of how to make your data entry a little bit faster. And that's by utilizing these default tax rates for accounts in your chart of accounts. So depending on what method of GST, HST tracking you're using, whether you're going to claim ITCs or you're going to use the quick method, really determines how you should set the default tax rates on these accounts as. So in this one, I have a lot of the default tax rates set up out of scope because this in this demo account, we're saying that this client is a quick method, meaning there is no ITC tracked on expenses. The only time the HST is tracked is on the income. Now, if I wanted to change that, I could just bulk actions, set default tax code right here, and change the default tax code. The tax codes and how to use that is a little bit more of an advanced topic, not something I'm really going to go into in depth right now. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us regarding that. So what I really wanted to get to quickly is the reports. I talk to a lot of clients. I help a lot of our clients with QuickBooks Online. And this is an often ignored module, I guess, within QuickBooks Online that really provides a lot of value. It provides a lot of value in that you know what you're able to see what your income and your expenses for your corporation is, and it's also the best place for you to go to review the transactions that you've entered. So the first report that I want to show you is your profit and loss. So if you click on a profit and loss, I'm just going to go, you can customize, you can choose your report period. So say you wanted to look at them for last month, you can do that here. You can do custom. Right now, I'm just going to do all dates because I know this is kind of old data in here. I'm going to sort it, display columns by fiscal year. So I'm able to see all of the income and expenses for all of the fiscal years that I have data in here. And what you want to review is that your income is correct, so that number looks okay. Yeah, I think I have about $120,000 of income this year. That number doesn't look right. You can drill in here and you can look at and see the things that were already recorded to this account. The same with the expenses. So you're able to see all of the expenses that you have recorded for the incorporation, and then your net profit down here, right here. So this is a really important report to review, and you can also click right here on the profit and see all of the detail for all of the accounts. This is a great place to review where you've categorized your transactions and to check whether they've been categorized correctly or where you're comfortable with for the corporation. So that's a profit and loss report. And then the second report to review is your balance sheet report. Again, I'm just going to go to all dates, fiscal years. I'm going to look at all the fiscal years. And so I'm going to look at my bank balance, make sure that looks accurate. And you should be comparing that to your actual bank statement for that period. So I want to go to March 31st, 2020, and can make sure that this bank balance matches after I've entered all the transactions from banking. So in here we use director's advances. These are the transactions that you've potentially withdrawn from the corporation. And then your accounts receivable. When you invoice a customer, it shows up in your accounts receivable until it is paid. And then you have your credit card and your potential GST, HST liability right here, as well as your retained earnings and your net profit. So these are the two reports that are highly valuable to be reviewing on a regular, consistent basis. And I think that is it. That's a really, really high, fast overview. I'm going to open it up to questions now. So if you guys have any questions or any specific things you'd like me to kind of go into detail, feel free to ask in the chat or raise your hand, and I can unmute you as well.
Okay, so there is a question that came here, which asks, is the QuickBooks software linked with bank system?
Yes, it is. So you're creating, when you go to link account, you're creating a direct connection with your bank account. Now, it cannot read or write data to your bank account. It is simply going to scrape the data and bring it into this type of basically Excel spreadsheet right here. But it cannot initiate payments or withdrawals or anything on your behalf. It's only just scraping the data that's there.
It's also important to note that actually, once you set up QuickBooks Online, it only does import the data. Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's only 3 months prior to the setup date that it allows any imported data from the bank account.
Yeah, it really depends on the bank now. RBC will usually go quite a bit further back. Sometimes, like Scotiabank, will only go a day back. Yeah, so it really depends on the bank. And if you have that issue, you can go to your online banking. You should be able to download CSV files, and you can upload from a file right here. And so you can upload past bank data directly into these feeds if you're missing a period of time.
So quick question now, this is a question I guess for me. So if a client, let's say, for example, they are 3 months into their current tax year, and they have maybe no control over how far back, let's say RBC will do a data import. I'm assuming there's no way to have a cutoff of when you want to have the data import. So if it imports more dates than you need, is it just a matter of manually deleting it from QuickBooks Online?
Yeah, so if it were to bring in more dates, it will say like, how far do you want to go back? I haven't found that to be the most accurate. Sometimes you put in, I only want it to go 3 months, and it still brings in a year. Sometimes, so I haven't found that to be like the most beneficial, but it will ask you. And if it does bring in more data than you want, because you say you're starting new on a new fiscal year end, you can actually go right here. You can filter for the dates, that you want, and it will just bring the dates, and then you can bulk select, and you can actually just exclude them. You exclude them. It doesn't really delete them. They're still over here in the excluded tab. If you really wanted to delete them, you could put delete, and they'd be gone forever. The advantage of having them in this excluded tag is they're still here. You could potentially put them back over here if you needed to. So
okay, all right. So another question came in to ask. So I can import data from bank to QuickBooks, but not the other way around. So I guess the answer is yes. So in other words, whatever is in your bank account, you can import it into your QuickBooks Online, but nothing that is in your QuickBooks Online, let's say if you manually enter in transaction, there is no way for that information to be then imported directly into your bank account or your banking data.
No.
It's only read only in terms of the data.
Right, it's read only internal. Yeah, there's no, like, you can't put a receive payment in here and have it go to your bank account. Like, it just doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Okay, one more question. If I get a payment in my bank, do I get notified in QuickBooks? So I guess if a deposit goes into their bank account, and I'm assuming the individual's asking if it's then imported into their QuickBooks Online, do they get any form of notification from QuickBooks?
No, not unless potentially you have. So QuickBooks does have, like, if you go to receive, if you go to invoice, you can set up to be paid through QuickBooks through their payment processing. So you can go to get set up. Right. And then customers would have a link on their invoice where they could pay you directly on the invoice. There would be potential notifications on that, but no notifications if you're just receiving, an e-transfer into your account or a deposit into your bank account. That would have to be done. Yeah, that would have to be done on your online banking side, and then you would need to come into QuickBooks and record the transaction. So it is recommended that you come into QuickBooks on a regular basis and take care, do maintenance on your banking transactions, because if you wait till for a year, it can get quite weedy,
overwhelming.
Overwhelming to go through.
Mhm. Now, Jennifer, I guess when deposits are being made into an individual's bank account, how long does it typically take for it to be populated within QuickBooks Online? I'm assuming a matter of hours?
Yeah, it's usually a matter of hours. So you can do like a manual refresh right
Mm.
here. So I can't because these are not live bank data feeds that I have
Live.
connected right here. But you would have a button where you can refresh your feeds.
Mhm.
So, and it will refresh to the most current data that's posted in your bank account. So yeah, it would be potentially within a matter of hours.
Okay, so I have another question here. So as soon as I get any update in my bank account, I come in QuickBooks and record that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, potentially yes. I mean, potentially yes and potentially no. So,
Mhm.
you know, if when you're doing income, when you get your deposits for your invoices, it is good idea to record those, to go ahead and record them as paid. But like, you know, bank charges, that kind of stuff, you may want to save up a month of transactions in QuickBooks before you come deal with it.
Okay. One more question here is, what is the difference between QuickBooks and net banking and Excel combined?
I think you're gonna have to repeat that. Net banking.
Sure. The question is, what is the difference between QuickBooks and net banking and Excel combined? I'm not sure what's the net banking.
Are you saying like basically taking your banking transactions, exporting them to an Excel, and then kind of
Okay, so
classifying them from there?
okay, the individual clarified. So I guess it's what's the difference between QuickBooks and online banking and Excel combined? I'm not sure if I quite understand. It says, okay, online banking versus, I guess, Excel. I guess with online banking, you can import the transactions automatically ongoing into your QuickBooks Online. But if you're using an Excel, you would, I guess, mainly want to use Excel. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer. Maybe if you are just starting to use QuickBooks Online and if you have prior data that you want to manually import, I'm assuming you wouldn't want to be using Excel ongoing, importing transactions into QuickBooks Online unless if it's a bank account that maybe does not connect to QuickBooks Online.
That's correct. So I have a handful of clients that are very concerned about data security, and they do not feel comfortable having a live connection to QuickBooks Online. So they just download their CSV files every month, come to here and upload from file. And that is an option. It's a little bit more maintenance on your end, quite a few more steps versus having the convenience of just having your bank account connected.
And I'm assuming then, Jennifer, how do the bank rules work for imported data in CSV files?
So bank rules work the same. So you can come over here at rules. You can review your rules. You can edit. You can add new rules. So they work the same. As soon as the imported data comes in, it's going to read the data right here, and it's gonna apply the rules.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter whether or not it's Excel import or if it's a bank feed import, it will still run the rules.
Yeah, it will still run the rules. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another question here. Is there an alternative to QuickBooks? Does CRA accept QuickBooks to show our records in case of an audit?
Yes. Right. Do you want to change that answer originally?
Yes. Well, I guess with a CRA audit, I mean, here's the thing. With your QuickBooks Online, it's really good in terms of for the bookkeeping, tracking of your income and your expenses for your tax return preparation. But if you're ever being audited and CRA is asking you for proof of a receipt or a transaction, you actually do need to keep the physical receipts. If you just showed, your QuickBooks Online and says, well, look, this is, this says Best Buy or this says Enbridge and this is the expense, it's not an actual receipt. So CRA does need to see the receipt. So it really doesn't matter whether you choose to use QuickBooks or any other bookkeeping tool. The actual receipts are important. And that's why actually for a lot of our clients, we also do offer the use of Receipt Bank, which allows you to be able to snap a picture of your receipt. So keep that electronic. So you do need to, the QuickBooks alone will not suffice with, in terms of a case of an audit, you need to keep those physical receipts. I guess there's another question. Is there an alternative, again, to the QuickBooks Online? So, I mean, there are definitely a variety of different cloud-based bookkeeping tools that you can utilize, several of them that are out there. I think it's just a matter that QuickBooks is definitely a lot more robust in terms of a tool that's being utilized and a lot of features. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, but there is always continuous improvement and changes and new features and rules which are coming out with QuickBooks Online, which is really beneficial to a lot of small business owners.
Yeah, that's correct. So QuickBooks Online is a little bit more user friendly, although some clients find other accounting programs more user friendly to them. It's easier for us as your accountants to come in and help you and assist you and make it adjusting journal entries if we need to within your QuickBooks Online account. If you don't do things right for some reason, it's easier for us to come and clean it up in QuickBooks Online. Almost everything can be undone and redid. So there's, some of the other accounting programs, Wave, FreshBooks, Xero. I've had to do extensive cleanup jobs in those programs, and they are 10 times more difficult to clean up and correct mistakes if they're made than QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a little bit more foul-proof, right? Because if a mistake is made, it can be undone. Whereas the other accounting programs, they make it significantly harder to fix issues.
So I guess we're very user-friendly for both the accountants as well as for the business owners.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so another question came in here. Do you guys provide a course on QuickBooks? If yes, how much do you charge and how long is it? So we actually provide tutorials for clients who do you want to utilize QuickBooks Online. So I can definitely send a link after. Actually, it's a free training session that we have with different videos on our YouTube channel. Okay, so clients get to, I think they're about, actually, Jennifer, if you give me 1 second, let me try and, if you don't mind, do my screen share so I can pull that up for you.
Yeah,
is that okay?
No problem. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so let me just pull this up here. Okay, so we do have the QuickBooks training that we do, training guides that we offer on our YouTube channel, and it really does break down with all the different topics. So, rather than it being, like a full 2-3 hour going over everything, there might be certain snippets that you want to have specific training about. So it is available here, which is free of charge for clients. However, we do have sometimes clients that say, look, okay, I know that's great, but you maybe want a little bit more one-on-one training, which you can actually have with Jennifer. So there is, in terms of the hourly rates, you're looking at about an $85 hourly rate, one-on-one with Jennifer. Jennifer can go in and give you a bit of a overall training. And as well, sometimes it's just a matter of doing a little bit of cleanup, right? Sometimes clients want a little bit of cleanup. They've started and maybe, they want to maybe reconcile some of the accounts. Jennifer can also, go in, take a look at your QuickBooks, take a look at what you have, and then see what the cost would be to just do a little bit of a cleanup for you. So definitely options available if you want to kind of DIY and do the training on your own, or if you prefer to have that more one-on-one, this is definitely something that we can provide as well. Okay, so let me see. So I guess any other questions? Oh, there are more questions coming in. Okay. Oh, the individual said, thank you very much. So I guess any other questions? No other questions. And I guess Jennifer, I guess anything else you want to touch up on?
No, I think that's it. I do kind of recommend just like 30 minutes to an hour of individual training one-on-one when you get started with QuickBooks Online, because your accounting and bookkeeping is really specific to you and the types of transactions that you have as an individual or as a corporation. And sometimes spending just like 30 minutes or an hour with me at the beginning gets you set up on the right track and really prevents issues down the road. Just putting a little plug for that.
No, it's true. Being a little proactive from the onset, it's even like, again, going back to, setting up your rules from the onset. So at least even if you haven't gone in for like, about a month or 2 months, at least, something is the work is being done behind the scenes, information is being imported. I do know, for example, sometimes, Jennifer, I guess the bank feeds, they disconnect. So it is important that clients are making sure that they're going in so that the data is being imported. But definitely at least proactively kind of doing that is a lot better than, reactive and at the end of the year and now you're trying to, do everything from scratch. So the sooner the better that you get on board, that's great. And as well, we also do have wholesale billing prices for QuickBooks Online, in fact. So QuickBooks Online, I think their plus or their pro package, you're typically looking at about a $60 cost per month. We're actually able to provide a wholesale billing of $35 for the QuickBooks Online subscription. And as well, we also, Jennifer goes in, sets up the QuickBooks Online, the chart of accounts to kind of have everything, set up for you, correctly from the onset. And then again, we always do have our ongoing webinars that individuals can attend, come in, ask the questions, and we can definitely help. So I guess if there are no other questions, I guess we will wrap it up for today. Jennifer, thank you so very much for your time. And again, thank you very much for everyone who's attended, and hope you have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, then. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.